Alright, what we got here is my 1970 Chevy C10 pickup. I'm going to do a little work on it today. I had it sitting here for a little while. I fired it up and everything worked great, except for I noticed that my fuel gauge wasn't working. So we're going to go through troubleshooting that and getting that replaced today. First thing I'm going to do is fire it up. Now it's been sitting a little bit, so I'm gonna have to give it a little go juice. Under the hood we got a 400 small block. It's bored 30 over. It's got a Holley carburetor sitting on top. So with the 30 over bore, it's actually a 406. If we look here on the fuel gauge, you can see that it's reading empty. And I've got plenty of fuel in the tank. So we'll get behind the seat here. And this, by the way, isn't the factory seat. It's a seat out of like a 1992 model Chevy pickup, but it fits in these old C10s great. Got a built-in armrest, so really enjoyed that. And here is the fuel sending unit here. It's got one wire that goes up to the gauge. It's brown wire. And a little simple trick you can do is we'll take this wire and apply it straight to ground. We'll ground it out. And when we do that, if you look over here at the gauge, when we unplug it, you know, it goes all the way up. And then when you ground it out, it goes down to empty. So we know that our gauge is working. Now I've already ordered the replacement part. Ordered it online. And you can see it's got a 90 ohm resistor. And the resistance will change. There's a potentiometer in here, and one of the ways that you can use to test that is you get a digital multimeter and you set it to ohms. And you go between the sending unit and where you have the place for the wire hook up to. You can read your ohm readings, and as you can see, we start off with 4.8 ohms, and as we raise the float, we go up to a maximum of 92 ohms. So as the float level raises, it increases the resistance in the potentiometer, and therefore causing the fuel gauge to go up to full with 90 ohms, or down at the bottom with only like 5 ohms. So go ahead and get started on changing it out. Now this is the fuel gauge, and it also has the pickup, so I need to disconnect the fuel line. And the right wrenches here. Okay, we got a 9/16 there, and go on our fuel line, 1/2 inch. So a little trick I like to do when I'm breaking lines loose is, if you can get the wrenches set so it's just kind of like gripping a pair of pliers, a lot of times it's a lot easier to break them loose like that. Now this one, of course, you got to be making sure that you go the right direction. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. All right, so we'll get that fuel line removed. And there's a lock ring, and so what I do on those, there is a special tool, but I just use a hammer and like a screwdriver or a little pry bar just to loosen that up. All right, came off pretty easy. Right. So now we'll check the resistance on this one. Okay, we're bouncing all over the place with our resistance. Now I found the failure point of this fuel sending unit that had only been in there for a couple of years. As you can see, it's leaking fuel out, and so it's real heavy. So basically it just sinks to the bottom. It filled up with fuel. So So that was the issue here with it. And I know the had a little bit of the erratic ohm reading when you wiggled on it, but it's like the main culprit there is just the float it's gotten full of fuel. So, and this one I was a little curious about. This part has only been in this truck for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years, and the one that I replaced when I replaced this one had been in there for 50 years. So it's just kind of interesting between the quality of 50 years ago and now. But I'll go ahead and get the new one installed. And it comes with a new O-ring. We'll make sure we get that installed so we don't get that dang fuel smell in the cab. We'll get that down in there. All right, so we got that slip ring, the lock ring started, got the new rubber O-ring down on the bottom, and now we're just kind of knock it down into position. And we'll see how this new sending unit lasts. I don't remember where I got the first one, but if you guys have had any good luck, bad luck with these sending units, please let me know down in the comments. Any good brands that last, any that wear out. All right. And you know when you've got it in the right spot when all your tanks here are up against the stoppers. Just like that. Now we're going to hook our fuel line back up. And from what I can see, there's a couple of different styles of these fuel sending units for these old tanks that are still in the cab. And you've got a different size fuel line depending on what engine that you have. This truck originally had a 6-cylinder engine, so it had the smaller fuel line. Although it's still got plenty of power, it will draw plenty of fuel to feed my 400 engine. But just be aware that you want to look at that if you're changing that out, what size of fuel line that you have. So now we'll hook our wire that goes up to our fuel gauge. and we'll watch our fuel gauge here to see where it ends up. And now, as you can see, we're ending up closer to between a half and a 3/4 tank of fuel, which I know is right because I had quite a bit of fuel in the tank. And so as you can see, it's pretty simple job. And now we know how much fuel that we've got in the tank, because if you guys know, if you ever had a fuel gauge that didn't work and you kind of constantly have to keep an eye on how much fuel you have, it can be a real pain, especially on one of these old trucks that doesn't get very good fuel mileage. Anyways, let me know in the comments what you think. If you want to see any more projects on this old truck, let me know down in the comments. And again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.